Great. All right, thanks, everybody. Sean is not here today. So it's gonna be Madeline and I. We will call the meeting to order. And begin with public comment. In the room, hoping to public comment. Okay, great. We will move on to item 3, which is approval of minutes. Given that we only have 2 members here, we can approve the minutes from December, or we can move to approve the minutes from December 10th, 2025 work session, but we will table the vote for minutes on January 6th. We need Sean here. Do you approve the minutes from December? All right. We have a long list of discussion items. We might, we'll dive into some more than others, especially since again, Sean isn't here. The first policy is our school lunch policy, policy 5601. This is one of the policies that we came by based on it was first developed in like 1976, and we saw that it was outdated, and so have had the opportunity to work with our leadership team that leads all of our nutrition work, and they have advised us on some of the language to be able to update it. It's a very simple policy. It's really just stating that the board acknowledge and taking advantage of the federal school lunch programs, and that we intend to implement that in a way that it's to serve all of the healthy foods that are provided by the district, but that we are not requiring students to take or eat those foods, both to allow for free choice and also to limit the amount of food that's wasted when the kids put them on the plates and don't want to eat them. Have you had a chance to look at this? The school lunch run? Have not for this week.
It's only a few sentences,
Yeah.
If you want me to read it. Yeah.
Sure.
So the proposed language we have is the Board of Education of the Ithaca City School District authorizes participation in the National School Lunch and National School Breakfast Program in accordance with the most current USDA regulations. The district shall implement offer versus serve and all applicable nutrition eligibility and non-discriminatory requirements to ensure students receive healthy, balanced meals. That's it. Serve was more of a strict requirement. It's less stringent. Also, we took the original policy from 1979 referred only to our middle schools. This refers to the entire district.
And as we know right now, we have a state policy that supersedes this anyway. That's doing this so that all students are getting free lunch, but this is just stating that at a bare minimum, the Board of Education is authorizing ICSD to participate in the national school lunch programs. And at this point, I spoke with Sean earlier today. We're in agreement. We would support sending it to the board. That's still only for our first reading, which means we and the rest of the board can weigh in and make changes at that time. Would you support it? So we'll make a motion to bring it to the full board meeting at
December 10th. I'm sorry, December. February 10th.
Can we double check? It's not such a priority that if we have a very long list of items, but to the next board meeting that we have open space on the agenda. Okay. The next policy, item 4.2, is policy 2245, which is the student ex officio members, board member policy, which again is a new state level requirement to have at least one ex officio student board member from both of the representative from both of the high schools. We already had a policy in place long before it became a state requirement, which we feel very proud about, but are excited about using this opportunity to strengthen that policy and make it an even better experience both for the students themselves, not just the students who are sitting in the seats, but the full student body at the various schools, as well as the best opportunity it can be for the board to be able to hear it from student bodies. We have had many back and forths on this already and are really grateful to our current student board reps for weighing in a number of times. I know that some of the conversations that we have been kind of general, and there's been a request, I think really a mutual agreement that we needed something more concrete to be able to look at. And so I want to start by just apologizing that you guys were only sent this a couple of hours ago. But we're very excited to see all of you here, and would love to hear your thoughts to kind of kick things off about different pieces within the policy that you support or would advocate for changing, and also things that you may not see there at all. So hop right in.
Just looking at it, it looks pretty good. I think that the discussions we've had have led to a policy that seems pretty comprehensive to me. I don't really see any issues with it. So the policy doesn't need to cover elections, I understand, and then election policies would be developed school by school.
We could decide to do
Okay.
that, but I think that at this point, we have heard enough from you all about processes that you see as being pretty functional already. I think that at least, I mean, I don't speak for myself, but we've had conversations about making sure that we're including language that I think we included in here more generally about what we want to make sure that you achieve, that a candidate would achieve. And so we would hope that that would be worked into them, so we don't. So I, at this point, don't see a need to like influence the exact process, but more make sure that like things are being that topics are being touched on throughout that process. But opportunities continue.
For me at least, and I believe for Jingying as well. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think we're going to see any problems with the policy as it stands.
I think that it looks, I mean, I only got to briefly look over it, but it does, like, I feel like it covers everything, both from what both like adults and kids were saying about it. Yeah, the only thing I was gonna bring up was asking about the election stuff, but I feel like it seems fine. I think it seems like fair and like general, specific enough for the stuff that we need, but it isn't like so specific where it's like, sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a chance to look at it and I think it's pretty good, so yeah. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's like the position of ex officio school board, that heading right there, that first paragraph you see before the participation guidelines, where it kind of lays out how participation happen in not these meetings, but a voting meeting more distinctly.
Mhm.
I like the idea of having I just want to clarify with the standing committees thing. I counted 5 standing committees. Would that mean that you want a minimum of 5 board reps combined, I guess? And then that could fluctuate depending. Okay. And how would that be, like a liaison kind of role? God, I missed the last meeting. I'm sorry about that as well. I know it's into this one, sorry. But like a liaison, like if I'm the policy representative, I'm gonna come to multiple policy meetings and then okay.
Yeah. And again, like this was like the language that I drafted.
Mhm.
We've talked about this in the sense that I've kind of shared ideas about that, and we've had conversations about it. So I also haven't, like Sean and Madeline have also not weighed into this idea that much, so it certainly wouldn't have to be. But for me, I'm really trying to focus on like how can it be the most like meaningful experience for board reps to both, bring ideas to a general discussion, but also like there's so much meaty work that happens in the committees. And so while it's not as like sexy in a way to be able to sit there as opposed to at a full board meeting, I think that it's a really unique opportunity to really be able to dive in. And then I would imagine, if somebody was sitting with us on the policy committee, when we talked about a policy at the full board meeting, that person would come and be able to kind of speak on it at the larger meeting as well.
Okay. I guess like the main thing I kind of took away from reading this is that I'm not entirely convinced that it's like it's really an expansion of student voice in a meaningful way. just more the rotating guidelines, just like, and how to do that in an effective and educational way. Like, as it stands, I feel like, well, let me go back actually. Would the student representative position, if we rotate, I'm assuming everybody's a representative and then one person's at ex officio for the main purpose of a voting. Would I guess in a voting meeting, I feel like we generally have a certain level of voice. This seemingly would restrict it except for one person who it's elevated. So if you have like 4 glasses all half full, one of them's fully full, and the other's like a quarter full at this point, something like that. Like it's,
But not really, because it's the same thing as
Mhm.
us as board members.
I know.
Just because we have a president, he doesn't have more of a vote than the rest of us.
Yeah, I got that. I'm it's more reading like the policy language that I get that sense from. And I know like everybody here, best intentions, like, and it's, but reading it from like if a board in 20 years reads this and is like, okay, only one of you can ever say anything.
Can I
I'm
just
I'm scared for this. I'm sorry.
clarify, it's one ex officio from each school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
so it would be 2. I think,
Mhm.
again, I'm thinking about trying to solve like multiple problems.
Yeah, no, it's
challenges,
a-
one of which is like
Mhm.
having 7 people at
Yeah,
a full
no.
board meeting. I think it also creates a really great opportunity for you all to do a lot more kind of collaborative
Mhm.
work within your school buildings, so that it's not like, I would hope even now, the intention of the policy, even as it sits now, like, is not for us to hear like what Julian thinks or
Yeah.
what Judah thinks. Like, we're hoping that you're speaking like from a voice of the entire
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
Where yeah, so I think that the way that I would see it is that the time that you guys would spend as the full group
Mhm.
of everyone assigned to different things, the person that would be coming just as the kind of,
Mhm.
person that would be sharing from everybody's perspective.
Mhm.
And so it's more about like if you think about what you guys are reporting out now, in a day
Yeah.
when like Emily and both aren't here, like,
Mhm.
you report out about everything that's happening
Yeah.
at LACS, and it's just a little bit more streamlined.
Mhm.
And so thinking about it more from that perspective, I struggled with the idea a little bit of having it rotating,
Yeah.
because I really like the idea of having like one person really get enmeshed. The reason that I wrote that in was because of feedback from you all, or some of you that really like that idea. And I understand the like sense of like, well, I want to be able to have that opportunity too.
Mhm.
But it does have, the,
Mhm.
a different outcome that way, for
Mhm.
sure. Before we go on for a second, I'm realizing there's like a lot of students in the room. I didn't know, the last I heard, no other students were coming, but I'm assuming now that you are here to talk about this. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I apologize. I had no idea that, I did not know. So if you all are also here to talk about this policy, we welcome you up to the
Yeah.
table. I want to make sure we can kind of back up a little bit, and we can learn a
You
little
guys
bit
want to
about
come up?
who you are, and
Thank you.
you can sit back and just listen.
Government class.
Oh, yeah, what is, are these?
Yeah, the superintendent, just.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
I thought Kate, sorry. BJ, Esther, they're from the shape.
Okay, so did you guys come to, you're welcome to sit at the front if you would like to engage in a conversation.
I had all this space.
They're shy. Yeah, that's fine.
Dan's all alone. Can I sit over there?
Yeah, I'll come over there.
Yeah, so there's,
Yeah.
yeah, no, sorry.
I'll sit on the floor.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'll be over there. Okay.
They're Brian's.
Oh, it's
Okay, well, let me apologize. I totally should have asked earlier and invited everyone to sit down.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. So for everyone in the room, we really, the whole time that we've been working on this policy, we've been talking about how to create both a policy and a program that really infused all student voices and all student perspectives into the work of student board reps. And we realized that all of our conversations have been with our current student board reps who are all obviously already very engaged, which we're very grateful for. And so we have reached out to other groups within the community to try to get other perspectives on, like, do you even know anything about like student board reps? Like, do you know, like, would you ever get involved? Why or why not? Have you ever been, have you had an opportunity to provide feedback? Things like that. And this is not an assessment about like how board reps are doing. I think it's more about a recognition that it's really hard to reach like a huge group of student population. And so we are looking to everyone for ideas on how to do that more effectively and how we can kind of infuse some of that language in the policy itself to kind of ensure that that's happening, because otherwise it's not really representative of the student body. So I think that you guys are from like two different groups, which we both reached out to. If you don't mind, just like introducing like name and who you're affiliated with as it relates to this.
Yeah, so I'm Lionel Margolin. I am the External Affairs Coordinator for the SSAC, Superintendent Student Advisory Council, which means I'm in charge of coordinating how the SSAC interacts with other schools, with the board reps, and administration here.
My name is Oakley McElroy. I am the Internal Affairs Coordinator for the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, which means that I oversee internal procedure. I assist the chair with matters. I oversee committee heads, and I help resolve things if there is a need for that.
Great, thank you.
Is it just you two, or are there other people?
Andrew is the other piece of the puzzle, but he couldn't make it today.
It's a lot of.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 22 members in total, yes.
I think it's more than 26.
Go ahead.
My name's Esther. I'm with Village, and yes, that's just it. And you're from Ghana.
What school do you go to?
Oh, I go to Ithaca High School.
Oh, sorry. My name is Kaylee. I'm here, or you, I'm here with the Village at Ithaca as a student, board member. And just to sort of gather information about what's going on here today, so we can then, put it into what we're doing. I'm also here with the Village, and my name is Kylie. Great questions.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you repeat your name?
Kaya. Spruce.
I am lots of very people town and together.
Thank you. Yes, we got forum. Okay, well, do you guys know about, like, have you seen the policy? Do you know, like, do you need a little background?
Yeah. I just saw the policy. We got an email at some point during the day, and
I have not received an email.
Okay.
And in terms of context, I did watch the last, I kind of skimmed through the last meeting on this last night on the recording. So I have some knowledge of what you guys have been talking about, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll back up real quick. So we have had student reps that sit at and join us at the board meetings for decades now. Sorry guys.
You guys know? You have student reps?
No, I've known Judah for 4 years, and I never knew ever in my life that he was a board.
So there have been board reps. We have not been around all that long. So, you know, I've only known them for the last couple of years and been able to see them. But basically, there is an election at the schools. It's different at LICS and at IHS, but in both ways, there's some sort of a process where they, promote themselves as being interested in running as a board rep, are elected by the student body, and then join us here at the board meetings. The goal is to be able to have student representatives that are reflective of the entire student body, to be able to bring both like celebrations of really exciting things that are going on, and like challenges that students are facing that they want to be able to advocate for. Or anything in between, just like topics that they want to engage in and weigh in on, that they know that the board is already talking about. So like, for instance, the whole cell phone policy that we were developing last year, it was we had a lot of input from our board reps to both provide input in what, like, the feedback that they were hearing from students about what they'd like or not like in the policy, but also what they help us immensely with, like, doing surveys of the student body to, like, ask questions about, like, how the cell phone policy is going this year, and how students are responding to what they need and don't need. Things like that. That's one example, but basically on every topic that we work on at the board. Right now, the policy pretty much, well, actually, when we were talking about the policy, right now, the process is really that they come to the meetings, and that we have an opportunity every time for all of our student board reps to present and share out about whatever they wish to do, which could be any number of those things. Sometimes they share, everything from, athletics and like wins of different, like, sporting events to, very specific challenges that their schools are facing related to, ADA compliance, of whether doors are opening or not, in order to help people through who are in wheelchairs or otherwise not fully able-bodied, to everything in between. But I think we all recognize that information is only coming from the students that they are able to reach. And we want to be able to think as broadly as we can about how to help the whole system kind of work even more effectively, to include all voices. So some of the main, well, do you want to add anything about that?
That's there, yeah.
Some of the main, like, buckets that we have really been interested in are things like the election process itself. It sounds like not everybody is even aware of those things happening in the schools. So, like, what the election process is, what is being asked of student rep or of candidates, and as far as, like, what are their intent, like, what are they actually, like, intending to do? Why do they want to run for this role, and how are they going to kind of contribute to elevating student voice? To things like how many board reps we should have. We should have, as we mentioned, not everybody is actually even here, but we usually have 7 students who are sitting here who we'd love to hear from, and also that's a lot of students to be integrating into hearing different voices every single board meeting. So we're trying to be creative on, like, where can students really, like, sit and be in order to have the biggest, like, impact and share. And what are the other buckets? Yeah, I think, yeah, like, mentorship is another one. There's, like, a teacher mentor that works with the IHS students. The LICS students don't really have one, but you work with your principal and kind of, there's more kind of community driven.
For the outreach too.
Yeah.
So that they go out the way and different groups of students.
Yeah. So really, the long story short is, like, this is the opportunity for student voices across the board to be able to come to the 9 board members who are working really closely with the administration, also, like, making a lot of, like, big decisions for the district to make sure that we're actually hearing from students about what they want and need. And we want to make sure that that this policy is actually helping make that happen. So we've had a lot of opportunities to work with our board reps who are truly just inheriting the role from other people and are kind of taking on that. And so also, it is not a creation of the perfect system that they have created either. But I've had a lot of opportunities to be able to hear from them. And so thought that hearing from some of you, especially those of you who feel like you may not be as engaged with the current reps or be as aware as you could be about how to kind of get your voice heard here. We would love to hear from you. So I will stop talking now if folks want to.
Yeah, so I have some things to say about this. I know that based on what I saw from the previous meeting, I believe you were talking about different, like, individual outcomes versus group outcomes. I do have some things to say about outcomes for SSAC individuals in terms of leadership skills, but is that something that needs to be talked about here? And then I'll get onto the group stuff. Okay, so individual outcomes, the SSAC has a bunch of different main roles that kind of mirror a lot of different bureaucracy that exists. So we have one student chairperson who kind of deals with the broad strokes and the vision for the council as a whole and moving forward, and organizes the meetings and runs them and stuff. So that's kind of obviously there are business applications, upper management roles for stuff like that. We have an internal affairs coordinator, hopefully right here, who is someone in charge of overseeing all of the committee work and running the council smoothly. So that's kind of a position of coordinating many different bodies, like helping them stay on track and getting them the resources they need. External affairs coordinator, which is me, is more of a communication role. So I work to gain information from the student bodies and spread it back to them, and organize dialogue between different organizations. So that obviously happens in all kinds of situations throughout life. And then we have also co-secretaries, which do more of that ministerial, clerical work of like organizing stuff. And we do also have 4 standing committees, which have chairs that oversee how those committees work to gather and develop information. Judah is actually one of those chairs. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Okay, so in terms of the group outcomes, on student view representation, the SSAC is not really an alternative to the board reps. It doesn't contradict it in any way. It's more of like a parallel form of student representation. I'm calling it a think tank model. That's just my little thing, but we have a bunch of individuals, 27 people from all 4 secondary schools selected by admin, which is obviously a different system from election, and school administrators might have ways to include individuals and develop the leadership of individuals who are less outspoken. Like there are definitely people throughout the district who maybe want and care about these things, but don't want to go through the trouble of running a campaign for that. So they are selected by admin, but that process is not formalized as of now. So that is up for some discussion. And then the way that we represent students, we engage with them doing committee inquiry. So each couple of months, we have our 4 committees on teaching and learning, district operations, human resources and technology, and budget and finance go out and do research and talk to students and interview teachers and stuff and gather information. And so that's kind of that's where I get the think tank from. They're going to the schools and engaging with the students to gather information, which then informs the recommendations we make to the superintendent and the board. And then on the flip side of that, we also do work to disseminate district info at some point during the group. Like this is a conclusion that we passed recently on outreach and publicity, and it deals with certain things such as dealing with misinformation in certain aspects, and conclusion on school facilities, deals with bathroom questions and helps students, will involve talking to students about how they can get engaged with facilities. So that's kind of the other side of the representation. We take information in from the student body, we formulate recommendations on that, and then we pass them and recommend them. Pursuant to that, I think that there is a decent amount of relevance of SSAC opinions in board meetings. For example, a teaching and learning committee want to be involved with the curriculum committee of the board, and the district operations committee We'll talk with the facilities and finance committee and whatnot. So we came here thinking about the possibility of an ex officio position for the SSAC. Obviously, this has been in the making for a long time, and we are very open to discussion, but this is what we thought might be helpful. That will be occupied by our chair or the external affairs coordinator at different times. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I think we'll just, and given that we have so many people, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah,
We can engage a little bit more.
No, I just have some actually,
Yeah,
no,
go.
I don't. No, I think we should move. I think I do have some comments about.
I mean,
Yes.
you're welcome.
Go ahead,
to
you got the
your-
floor.
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
I just think that maybe, well, I don't know, because it's not my decision, because you guys told me to get to decide this, but I think that like, as far as like. The importance of things that need to be decided now for our student body and how much. Issues are truly going on throughout the school right now, I think that there's bigger things that we need to focus on and make decisions on. And that if we wanna first make. Like sort of pathways to that goal, I think we need to be actually addressing the issues that are going to the school now, rather than just like doing the surveys and gathering information, because there's more issues at hand rather than like those little things.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like the surveys or whatever, like, I think that I would assume that the intention behind the surveys is to capture that information.
Yeah,
But so how, do you have?
Like,
It's
is that
clearly
not
being
helpful?
missed. It
Right.
sounds
I
like.
just think it's not helpful in the sense that like not everybody is sitting in class and actually doing these surveys,
Yeah.
mind you,
Oh,
like.
Yes.
We're actually doing them so that the ways that everybody is gathering this
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
is not gathering everybody's information, and not just saying like you guys gathering information like in itself. I'm saying like when admin sends out emails at the end of the day for us to do the 5-minute surveys, like those things, even those things are like just not getting you guys information that you guys need on
Yeah.
us and not reaching everybody. And so also it's like based off of assumption and off of everyday life, like I don't pass either of you, any of you at school. So it's like you know nothing about me and I know nothing about you. So you don't know any of the issues I face at school. I don't know any of the issues you face at school. So it's also like the demographic of where this information is coming from. Like these kids know nothing about the other side of these kids, and not even to just, you know, like put it out that way, but it's literally just like that. Like the same way that these student reps, is that what we call it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure I was saying that. Like the way that these student reps, I think that the way that this like that the way that they were either like implemented into the way that you guys get information wasn't in the way that they could best do their part in this board, because I know you and I know that there's so many important things that we could actually be talking about this table that need to be talked about to actually help these kids. There's power of the kids. Like
Can I just say, so our surveys actually do get most of the school. We had on our cell phone survey, I think we had over 1,000 students out of like 1,300. So we are getting a lot of that, and I personally have been to multiple clubs and talked to different students, and I do try to reach out to people. And I think all of us are also open to being invited to different clubs and different groups, and our emails are always open. We have our Instagram page. So I think there are a lot of ways to contact us, and I, for one, go out of my way to get.
Sorry to cut you off, Lily, you can talk and just, I do want to make sure, like, this is just like an opportunity for everybody to speak like on behalf of like themselves about how they're experiencing things. So I'm sure we, like, everybody could get in debates about the system. But I think like for this matter, like, I don't think it's like.
no, it's not a
thing.
debate.
No, so I think that we should leave it with like, let's let everybody just kind of like speak from their experience, because.
No, I completely understand too, but it's just like at the end of the day, it's like even if like you were to be doing these Instagram, it's like all like, I mean, it's like there's obviously like there's just still a divide. Like even if we're getting those responses back, it's like I think where you're not understanding is like you're not getting the responses from the people who are truly struggling and who are truly needing that help and truly need their voices to be heard through you at these meetings, not even through you, but you know what I'm saying, like through like the people who actually, are having issues with school academically and schools like the policies that are affecting them even when we don't know about them, even in ways that could be ruining their school experience.
And so I have a quick question also.
No, it's not.
During those surveys, do you guys have time to stop making assignments or whatever during the class? Do you have a time to where like the teacher is probably saying like, hey, you know, there's a survey out.
So
Take
most-
the next 5 minutes or whatever and make sure.
So
that you
most
fill it out.
school issued surveys, like, I don't know if they're coming, that's also the other thing. I don't know if most surveys are coming from you guys or if they're coming just from the admin team. What I know is that usually most surveys that are like, we all have to take are usually like at the end of the school day, like the last 5-8 minutes of class, and then everything just kind of stops, and then you're just in your class taking your survey. But there's also like the 50% of the class is also not doing it. So that's what I was referring to, not that like people aren't.
So Esther, not to keep putting you on the spot, but one other follow-up question is, one of the things that we've been talking about, Lillian, sorry, I forgot, right after this, it's year 4. Is like, so what do we do? Like, we've been talking a lot about like, what are the other avenues with which we can like, or the students can like meet? Is it that we need different like representation or broader representation of students here who can reach those groups or the
Yes.
other avenues?
Yes, I think we need to be giving more opportunity to the kids who aren't able to sit at this table, literally. Like, I think that we need to be able to look into the rest of these kids and see, like, you may not have the leadership skills that, you know, this kid has, but I know that you know about this, and I know that you're able to talk about this and this and this for hours, and that you're a good voice. Like, I think that as far as true success here at IHS, we're doing it, but we're not doing it for every kid, and that's the issue, and that's why we're so behind, because not everybody is able to come together and actually be able to speak about these issues and communicate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was just gonna say about before, like, I feel like it's really difficult, obviously, to reach a whole school demographic, and like, I do know that like this year, like, we all are in pretty like different activities or like classes and kind of things like that. And, like, obviously, like, you don't know what any person is going through, that kind of thing, whatever. But it's like difficult because no matter who's representing the board, there's still going to be these issues, and just trying to figure out ways that we can communicate. Like you were saying, like certain students, like even if they don't have like as great of leadership skills and stuff, just like accessibility to these opportunities, which is like, I think it's like, it is open for everyone to run. I just think people don't like, I guess, like read it in their emails or stuff like that, or like.
But then it's just like that exactly right there. That's what makes it inaccessible to those students, because as soon as you make like those resources, like that is a great way to reach out. But I think that's also like where we're fighting with the issue that we're trying to solve. Like, we're doing these ways to reach out to these students to get them open to these opportunities, right? But then it's like, okay, now we're thinking outside the box. If I'm just a regular kid who's not like, you know, you guys doing like a billion activities, I'm sure you guys have tons of meetings, you guys are super important doing all these things. Like, you kind of have to think outside the box. Like, if I'm a regular kid who just goes home and I'm not checking my email, where am I looking? Like, I think those are also different ways that we can think about how we can get those students to be more involved and more, you know, open and accessible to these sort of things, so that we're not also missing that information that we do need. Because I think what would be a lot more beneficial to all these student representatives is that if we had people from those different unrepresented demographics, so that when you guys are lost and not able to know why the next person is having this issue, you're able to have somebody that can tell you why this might be about, why this, like, you're getting what I'm saying? Not even in the type of sense of knowing somebody, but knowing the culture of somebody and knowing the shared experiences of somebody. I think that's help a lot.
So let me ask you, like, specifically, other than emails, other than student hub, other than even school announcements, what ways can we reach out to?
I think like that, you know what I'm saying, the social media way, I think that's also honestly like a really great way to keep going about it. I'm not saying like that, let that be that only way, but I wish that we were also, this is also like an idea. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't even be able to do this, or that you guys would be able to do this. But I think also a great way would be back if like we actually brought back like in-person like events at school,
Yeah,
like.
we've been talking about
Yeah,
this.
okay,
in the
yeah.
last few meetings, we want that
I think
next
that would be
year.
a great way to like get kids back like involved in it. And I think like when we have like those school events, that you guys should be able to promote yourself and like be able to talk about the board, because when we're having those school like events, like the school spirit and stuff, those should be just as represented as like the athletics and all those other things, because I have no idea.
Yeah,
And I think it would be really great.
we've been talking about that.
Go ahead.
So in response to this, one thing is that these students who are of concern in these demographics could theoretically be appointed to the SSAC by admin. In addition, at LACS, we do this on a smaller scale, but we have things like ASMs, and then every Thursday we have a morning meeting where anybody can come up and mention any topic of concern or just anything that they want to bring up. So that's for morning meeting. For ASMs,
And that's every meeting? That's every morning?
yes, every Thursday morning.
Oh.
Yes, in between projects.
Mhm.
And then on Wednesdays, we have a cycling ASM, and somebody, if there's a larger concern that they want the whole school to address, they can write a proposal or a dilemma, depending on whether it's a thing that they think they have a solution to or something that they want a solution to, and they can file that through agenda committee. And then agenda takes that, brings it up to the entire school, and allows everybody to feel thoughts on it.
So that's where I think like IHS just differs, because we don't have that sense of community and that sense of wanting to hear
And
our.
I
Are
also
just that
understand that
much.
you are on a much larger scale and it would be
Yeah,
hard to
that too.
facilitate
That
things
too.
like that. So we do QSM as well, which is something that you could do, implement somehow. I'm just floating something here, but
No, but I like the idea of like kids meeting with their, maybe we could find a way to implement like a way that teachers are doing that within their own classrooms instead, and then teachers are going and submitting their own responses. But could you repeat something to me about admins, the first sentence?
so these the kids you were talking about who are maybe not
Yeah.
given sufficient voice. One thing that admin could do is appoint them to the SSAC committee, which is the thing that we're on. And because if they don't want to have to run a campaign, it's just direct appointing, not election. So then they can have their voice heard within the committee and not have to worry about a campaign or
Right,
being
yeah.
criticized in public or in private. So it's another alternative.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, Esther, this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I do think that excuse me. I do think that it's important to obviously recognize what Esther said, the unheard of demographic, but I'm not saying it's definitely very close to impossible. Somebody will be unaccounted for, and I don't think that it's under the fault of just anybody. Like, people will ignore surveys. I've been in classes just like, I'm not gonna do this, and it happened. Like, regardless of how much we try, it does happen. I think the outreach is extremely important, and different ways of outreach. I don't have any specific things to say in regards of the way to go about that, but I do think what you guys are doing currently, or at least from what I'm seeing, has been a good job, at least with the surveys and what I've been seeing changing in our school, more specifically, our phones and bathroom policies. I've been seeing a lot of people, or at least in and out of the bathrooms. The bathrooms have been cleaner, and the smoking has been a big problem lately, if I'm going to be so honest about it. So maybe there could be more things talked about, but other than that, I feel it's sort of it's very necessary to just continue that community outreach, and like you guys have been doing, and also you guys are busy obviously, but talking to people in school. I like or even I see because every teacher gets a toddler and we hear about them, and so just like even board members like writing about things in the Tatler or just maybe coming up on announcements or what you guys are working on. I think even at the third period, like sort of announcements would be helpful for at least the school to know. And I also thought the idea of having, what was it, ASM or
ASM or
that's a
meeting,
really
yeah.
good idea. And I think it would be important to implement that in whatever ways you guys can in IHS because we do have that larger demographic and it would be a really helpful resource. That's all I have.
Let's just see if,
Yeah.
Kaya
You guys
does
wanna
wanna.
I think that kind of like to go off of what Esther was saying, like promote yourself more and like to let students know that they can like put in their information or their questions or whatever to you guys. Like I don't know, maybe do assemblies or like those field days. Just get out there, go on the microphone and just say whatever it is. And I also feel like kids don't really, not that they don't feel comfortable coming to you guys and like telling you like what they think is wrong. I just feel like they don't think that there's going to be much of a change. So they don't
That's what it is.
yeah, they don't wanna like, I don't know, waste their breath. For example, the phone policy, like some students don't like it, others think that they see more open attention and focus in classes. But like, what are we gonna do? It's like a state thing. Like there's nothing we can do to change somebody. And I feel like that's why kids don't feel comfortable speaking their mind.
Sorry, can I also piggyback on, because I think that's really important. They ended up taking off the school Wi-Fi, so even personal devices can't use school Wi-Fi.
MacBooks,
So even when you're there after school, it makes it extremely hard for people, maybe in clubs or people who maybe don't have their Chromebook, if they have their personal device, or even I have so much trouble I don't have a data plan. I have so much trouble contacting my parents because I don't have school Wi-Fi. And
It's just racist. Like the way that they implement the policy, certain ways of it is just racist. And I think that's also an issue that just needs to be addressed because at the end of you getting your phone taken away by an administrator, you have to write your name on a form.
Yes.
And I asked Patrick Covey, and he literally tells you that it is to go back around to track back to add that you
And they'll come up to you with your phone in your pocket and tell you get that.
Well, that is just
that's like a line you should not cross.
I like to finish what I was saying. So oh yeah, like contacting parents, it's extremely, I think that's something that could be worked on maybe because I understand why we don't have our phones during the day and that's not something we can necessarily build upon as of right now, but just that sort of internet that we're not getting, like it's extreme. I've heard some people like have trouble getting rides after school, and it's something that may could just help anybody. So
And the Wi-Fi too, like my friend, she went to the ice administrators to contact her mom or something, a personal matter that was very important. And she couldn't use her Wi-Fi. She was beautiful. You can like my son. So it's like I don't know why do I want to go to you about a personal matter because they're just gonna ask me why or all these questions that I don't feel comfortable sharing with you personally.
And okay, I little issue with like cell phone policy is like communication between like people at home and things like that. I may not be able to. My mom may not have a number. I may call her off a messenger or something. How would I be able to contact my mom if I can't use my phone to contact her in those type of ways? So that's my issue with cell phone policy.
And they tried to like let us know when we had an assembly about it, that there's spaces that we can go to, but like it's just a lack of enforcement between like all the issues around the school that is really like bothering me. Like not so much the communication of how we're getting to you guys and like letting you know, but just like the enforcement of it all. I see little change, it's a little noticeable, but not to those like quote unquote regular students who just come to school.
Are you saying that you don't like the enforcement or that it's inconsistent?
Yeah,
Or that
yeah.
it's inconsistent
Yeah,
with like across different
yeah,
rules?
right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, um. Themes that are coming up for me, oh, sorry, go
No.
for it.
Yeah, just one more thing, I do wanna talk about a demographic that hasn't really been brought up that is not represented at all so far, and that is the DeWitt and Boynton students who clearly have opinions. So just before this, I was at DeWitt Middle School and I talked to their student council about a bunch of different issues. A lot of it is about the inquiry topics that we're working on in the SSAC, and I can communicate that, but just some things that I wanna mention, and this is kind of like just like a case study in how we can do these kind of meetings between the SSAC and student government. But there was an extreme lack of knowledge about what the Board of Education is at all, how, what decisions they make and people being able to participate in it, and but there was clearly a lot of opinion about issues that get brought up all the time, like we spent like 15 minutes on school lunches, people had a lot of stuff to say about that. Teacher recruiting and retention is a big issue, and that was something that people brought up, so I just wanna I think that, I mean, I see the value in having the SSAC have a presence here because we do have DeWitt and Boynton students, and that gives us an ability to talk to DeWitt and Boynton, interact with them, that I don't think it's fair to have them represented by IHS or LICS student reps, obviously, and I think that organizing elections for them is a little bit complicated, and maybe like we talked about shyness in running for positions, and there's absolutely a vanishingly small number of kids in middle school who would be like, yes, I'll make a campaign to go talk in front of everybody at the grown-up policy meetings. But anyway, I just want to mention, like, I think that when we're designing this ex officio policy, and you saw in that email that Andrew sent that he's presenting the SSAC as a possible solution, but that we definitely need to consider middle school voices, especially since they are represented in LACS. That's kind of the weird quirk of the system, but yes, that's what I had to say on that topic.
My understanding of the SSAC was that it would be an advisory council to Dr. Brown, and Dr. Brown would bring it in his updates. And that's how the representation would get through, rather than having another rep, because these reps were elected by the high school. And even the SSAC reps from the middle schoolers were appointed by Andrew Reich they were appointed by someone.
Some mostly admin, but
Right.
he made some appointments.
Rather than elected. And so my understanding was that it would just go through Dr. Brown, and Dr. Brown would bring those to the committee, which he has.
Yes. Okay. I think that makes sense, but I do want to say that there's a lot of situations in terms of these committees. I talked about the kind of correlation, so each assistant superintendent is correlated to one SSAC committee, and I think that there's a lot of value in having those committee chairs and committee members being able to more easily participate in those sessions. I don't know whether about the inner workings about Dr. Brown or other people presenting things to board meetings. The vision that I remember having is kind of a both of us, that we would have Dr. Brown come with an SSAC representative, and they would together kind of give information about that, but I mean, he's not here in the room right now. And we're going to talk about exactly how that will form, because I don't think we're exactly clear on that kind of information. Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to be here coming in to be like demanding an ex officio seat. I know that you guys have had so much time working on this policy and talking about who gets that representation, but I do think that there's a necessity for some kind of formalized representation from the SSAC body, not as an alternative, not as, we're not, the point is not to have another body that acts as a representation of students, because it's not an elected body. It is, it's simply an advisory group. And
Quick question, how, out of the 22 members you guys have,
27.
27,
Yes.
My number was incorrect earlier,
Is
I
it-
apologize.
is it just high schoolers, or is it a mix of high school and middle school?
There,
It's a
so
mix.
we proportionally have them out from LACS, Boynton, DeWitt, and the IHS.
So I'm gonna say something I'm sure won't be popular right now, but hearing about the work that you all do, and this is honestly the first time that I've
Yeah.
learned anything about this group, which I think is unfortunate. And if this was like my first day having conversations about any of this, and I wasn't on the board and didn't know anything else about the board reps, I would say, it sounds like you guys are already doing, like, it sounds like you, kind of what you said in the beginning, it's like parallel, like you're going into schools and asking about all of the issues that everyone's facing and trying to bring that back and to be able to like relay that to Dr. Brown. This group is doing the exact same thing and
I see
speaking
more about this like structure here.
for sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like the goals seem to
Yeah.
be the same, and so it almost seems like, why are there two different
And not
distinct
working
groups
together, I feel like it
versus?
would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like are you guys
Yeah.
both like going to the student groups and like asking the same things, or is
With
there
the
a
same
reason that we
schools
don't
too, right?
have? And I'm not, this is why I'm saying it's not popular, I'm not suggesting, but if I didn't even know this group existed, I would just say, shouldn't three of you be coming to the board every time and sharing everything that you know, and it would be
Right.
the same, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would say that I think that the place where it differs the most is that the SSAC is a group where all of the different opinions from different schools, which are gathered in addition to data and different stuff and interviews, are kind of melted together into one opinion that we give to the board. I think that
Dr.
that's
Brown through-
different for also Dr. Brown, but I think that that's different from, I see the board reps as more of a kind of like an advocate for voices at their schools. And that can like, and that obviously is a much more fluid position. They don't have to vote on what they're gonna say, and they will go and bring information back and talk about all sorts of issues, as opposed to a more like long time consideration of one specific issue and getting more information from all the different schools and putting it together. So I think it's just a different way of doing student representation in terms of like representing this school just in general and advocating for them versus like finding specific policy questions and then gathering data everywhere. Does that make sense?
I'll say the SSAC is all appointed, and none of it's elected except internally we elect, or no, we don't, that's appointed too, isn't it?
We
yes.
don't have an official
So
system, so
everything is appointed in there, and I think that is where it actually lacks representation. I think obviously the SSAC is important, but what I understood was that the SSAC would be advising different superintendents. So the chairs would all be advising their corresponding assistant superintendents, and then the chair of the committee would be advising Dr. Brown, rather than having them come to board meetings, and then board reps would be a more fluid role, like Lionel was saying, that we can kind of be autonomous and reach out to groups across our schools and hold all of those, and I think the lack of sort of rigid structure also allows us to actually represent students from all things rather than being confined to one committee where I can only talk about operations.
But I feel like the richness of it is that the way I see it, yes, should be working together.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because
thinking. I was thinking, if you guys got the power.
This is such a big group, especially at IHS alone, that it's almost impossible for just the 3 or 4 of you just cover everyone. Like we were saying, like there's some kids that are gonna be not covered.
I
But
would-
working together because they have a good system and it can go with the advocacy. It's not one or the other.
Well,
It's
I'm on that.
learning to work together.
Yeah, so I'm a chair of the SSAC.
Yeah.
And I have regular communications with the chair of the whole committee, so we are working together. And I think the reason that you haven't seen a lot of that collaboration yet is that we just formed in November of this year. And so really a lot of what we've been doing this year is setting up the committee. And I think, in future years, there will be more collaboration, but there's nothing really to collaborate on yet because there aren't channels set up in SSAC to reach out to schools yet. And there aren't a lot of externally substantive discussions going on. A lot of it is internal processes. Like Lionel was saying, the last inclusion we passed was about public outreach. So there's less discussion in the SSAC so far about district operations in general. And so I think that's where you're seeing a lack of collaboration. But we are collaborating. It's just not very visible at the moment.
Yeah. And it's just you or you all 3 are
It's just me right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting, though, if it's brand new, then there is an opportunity to integrate the
Very
work a lot more.
body.
And even, having, I know you guys are from the community, the village at Ithaca, but like this is 3 groups of different,
Right.
the collaboration can coexist here in multiple communities.
I don't think we've been involved with the villages yet, but I would very much love to talk to you guys about a lot of these issues because I know that you have a way of representing more marginalized groups in the community in ways that I don't think that we can do with our only 30 members. So
I would love to see that.
yeah.
I would love to see this.
That was a great sentence.
Yeah. I love that.
Just 2 things. One, I also talked with Andrew about doing more collaboration with board representatives in the future. However, as was previously stated, there's not a whole lot to do just yet. We're still trying to figure everything out, although we are still trying to make process forward, drafting conclusions, yada yada yada. The other thing about it is I'm not sure if the rest of the board is aware yet, but members who are appointed to the SSAC are there until they graduate or until they step down or are removed for some reason. But that means that instead of a board representative from a school that runs a campaign each year to get reelected, the SSAC members are there until they graduate on normal circumstances.
But they'll move through the schools in that way. Yeah. And then about the thing about the superintendents and the advising, that is a process that we still is in the works. I know Mr. Byman, we are planning to meet soon. I have to get back to you on that.
It's okay.
But we will talk about how that works. We also need to confer with Andrew. I think he has a lot more of the details. I mean, he is, as the chairperson, all of these like greater vision things are kind of up to him. So I don't want to really speak as to what the overall vision of the SSAC as representative body is beyond what I've just said. But I do think that I really think that Judith's point is it's a good thing to think about, and I just don't think that there's something that we can tell you at this time about how that representation to the board is going to look like. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. This is very helpful and it's the type of information that we need in order to make this type of decision.
Also, if you need any more information, you can reach out to myself, Lionel or Andrew, via email, and we can respond to you whenever.
And feel free to come to our committees. Stay engaged. That's the best way that we can get to hear your feedback, whether you are a rep or not. Like we create time to hear, to hear from anybody that wants to that has something to say. So just stay engaged.
So before we wrap up, first of all, I want to get back to Julian from the very beginning in a minute about like specific things in the draft policy. Before others go or decide they don't have anything else to say, if you guys have any thoughts more specifically about, based on what your experience or lack thereof has been, like thinking about, elections specifically, well, the promotion of like the role itself, about like even being made aware that there's an opportunity to become a board rep, like what we're trying to think about, what things to include in the policy or in the process, about like what we need to have happen in order that more people are aware of this opportunity. I also hear you loud and clear in saying that like the person who is probably best able to speak on behalf of any particular student group doesn't necessarily mean that there's somebody that can be here every other Tuesday for hours and hours at a time, which I totally get. So it makes me start thinking about like, is that just the responsibility of the student reps to like identify those people, or are those people like a different kind of student rep? It's like a student rep within the school that then connects with the student rep. Like, how do we ensure that that's happening even, and that those voices are being heard, especially if there's somebody from like a group that is able to kind of like represent or speak on behalf of those groups? Like, does anybody have any ideas of ways to kind of like integrate that in a little bit, whether it's creating a new role or changing the election processes, or I don't know, anything like that?
My comment from earlier was just that, I feel like in terms of being made aware, at LICS, we do a pretty good job of telling people that they can run for a board rep. But I was nominated last year. I turned down the nomination because I didn't know what a board rep did at all. I was not previously informed.
But to what you had just said like 5 seconds ago, I think, wait, what was your question? It was like, to how are we gonna get kids to how to find those kids?
Yeah, how to find, and how to create an opportunity for them to really like be engaged, even if they can't be here every Tuesday.
What if you guys just had like a person who like just like goes and talks to people and like meets people, like as a requirement has to like literally has to go find people, like that's just their job, they just find people. Or like, what if you guys like,
Yeah, like it's one thing.
I know I'm saying, like, I'm saying it, but like I'm trying to think in my head.
Like saying what's up, like what's on your mind, like what's happening, like.
No, like I don't know, like obviously maybe instead like, here's something more structured, like we put out flyers, you have Ms. Delmeyer put out flyers like, oh, if you want to be a board rep or you're interested or you think you're good at this, you come. And then like that way, like you can have people, like if you're like, or what if you guys did like how we had the open house for Mike, like how you had people come and you had people figure out like the open house, like you have like a little booth, you have a little setup, and then you have people come, or have it so like people can join a Zoom meeting for the people who can't come or don't have rides after school. Like, I don't know, I think that there could be ways, in a way that we could definitely sit down and like actually talk about a structured plan, but I'm thinking about like ideas just off my head. But sure.
So if you could send those in an email to us, and I don't know, maybe Trisha, if you guys want those, that would be great too.
We can also move it on it.
Yeah, we're happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, I know this is kind of a add-on at the end, but I would really like to see more involvement between the student council at IHS specifically and the board reps. I know I worked on an editorial at the Tatler about student representation. And a big thing that we found was that the student council would have become a kind of a largely non like a body where the decisions didn't have real political gravity and were often not listened to and often dealt with. Right, it dealt with much more like minor things like organizing school events and had drifted from becoming the full like. Obviously, I don't know that we need to return to this, but I know that in past years, it was a more powerful legislative body that could actually make decisions. But I would really like, I mean, obviously Judah is also part of the leadership team for the student council. So and everything there. But I think that I really like that system because anyone can literally just walk in there during lunch and say something in a way that has a much more like that is I see the student council at IHS as the largest group of people that you could ever get to actually come and engage actively in district governance, and I want to make it easier for the board of reps and the board to get their meetings.
If I could say something about that point, what's going on with student council right now is that we have a lack of issues that are being brought to student council. So we have all these reps from all different grades and all different places, and anyone can walk in. And every single meeting we ask, are there any concerns, anything we need fixed? And no hands go up. It's not that we lack power so much that we lack problems to fix. And a couple years back there was a problem, and that was lack of menstrual product access at IHS. And now every other Wednesday we go out and we stock every bathroom with menstrual products. And so that is an example of one problem that we've figured out. And I don't think so much that we lack power as much as that we lack people that want to be in student council and people that have issues to bring to student council. I really do.
Yeah, and it's just also like I was thinking about like ways that like to like outreach to the school, that kind of thing. I'm president of the communications club and student activities, which like it's just a smaller group of people, but we meet and like try and think about ways to like increase like accessibility to information for the school. But it's like think of like, well, if we're not hearing feedback or stuff, we don't know how to solve those problems, and like talking about that stuff would help.
Yeah, wait, I just want to pause on that. I have a quick question. So how much like power does your like organization have? Or how much ability are you guys able to like help these kids, or how much do you have? Where's your limit? Like where can you not?
We don't have any formal power. What we do is we're a group of students that like and I just want to plug this in. I have a bunch of copies of the conclusions we've passed. If people want to see them pretty soon, hopefully they will be on a website. But for now, this is how we're gonna do this. But anyway, so we draft these conclusions and pass them, and that is a non-binding recommendation that says, hey, Dr. Brown, these are some things we think, these are the things that we recommend the district does on these issues, like on school facilities. We want to develop a set of baseline expectations for the cleanliness of bathrooms. That's one thing that we're saying. We recommend that this happens, and then we're going to work to make that happen. But there is no actual binding power. It's a recommendation. Does that
So
answer
then-
the question?
Yeah, so then you're reading over these, you're reading over the recommendations?
Every one of them, yes. It's a truly an advisory council, and
Yes.
each year it takes on a different iteration. And I was saying to the group, a decade ago, they advised me on technology devices, and they advised to go with Chromebooks versus Apple laptops, and that's what we did. They advised we need an electronic whiteboard in every classroom because we're tired of teachers using overhead projectors. So you see every classroom space has this, which I didn't even know they existed before students came. So truly an advisory council, I've learned a lot from them, and this group is much more formalized than what we've had in the past. And it's completely student led. I show up and I'm an attendee and I learn something every month. And so does our team. They can't wait to meet with Dr. Bryman to talk about these bathrooms out here. So the advisory council, in some ways, very different from these other councils that are at the table for a board meeting or who are elected.
So like, I wanna know more about like the process about these kids who are being chosen, like, do the admin have one-on-one relationships with these kids? Do they know these kids? Have they seen these kids? Are we?
It's a process because it's a both and. It's all of that. In years in past, we've had administrators submit recommendations. We've had families and young people say, I want to be. Some people have stopped me in it. So there's no formalized process. It's very informal. And I'm seeing somebody who's asking me a question now. I hope to come to the next meeting because it's that informal, which I think is powerful versus the formalities of some of these other groups. So please, I'll get you the date for the next meeting.
Okay, we are very short on time. We have just a few minutes. No, I definitely want to hear from you. So absolutely.
What do you like this meeting?
I'm just asking, we have a few other things we'd love to get to before the end. We're so grateful for everybody coming. This has been just an incredible opportunity, and I so appreciate you all engaging with one another as well and asking follow-up questions. And I hope that these relationships continue and that we continue to benefit from all of your insights. So my last question is just, does anyone have any kind of like closing remarks or one final thing that you'd like to share? So Kaya.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To like what you guys were saying earlier about like, loving that we have some different groups going on. Is there any way that you can get the village more involved with these meetings? Because like you guys have reps from ICSD and Ithaca High School, like we also as an organization. Yeah, we also are a part of that as well. And we work with kids, Sarah. She works with kids that are from these schools and have, I don't know what to say.
So what we do is that we have kids from all over districts, all over Top County, and we come like roughly, if we were to say how much we meet like every month. And hopefully sometime. Every month, and we talk about the issues that are either in their home districts or in their districts like that they notice around us, or just districts that they have, or just issues that they have in the community. And then
so that's how like we also get a lot of intel and information from kids around a whole bunch of different schools that we can also put in to whatever's going on in these meetings. So I feel like if we were to have like representatives from the village, I feel that would definitely be beneficial to being able to get this.
I'm so glad you said that. And the reason that you guys are here is because in the last time you were like, we should get the kids from the village, they're gonna come. So we recognize that you are an incredible resource, both to the community and within your schools as well. So yes, absolutely. And I was kind of thinking about that when I was getting it, like, are there like representatives of these groups that even if they can't make it to the meetings, I mean, we would love to see you involved in be reps. And if you feel like that's not something that's always manageable for at least some kids that are engaged in the work that you're doing, that's where it's like, maybe is there like another role that can be like within the school where maybe you guys help with like representing some of the other groups that are in the school and almost like our more formal liaison with the board reps or whatever, so that we make sure that that communication is regularly being brought. So thank you for the idea. Yes, we should continue to both talk about that, and we should bring in. And as Madeline just said, like, we really do also hope that, you guys can come to like any, I know this isn't the same thing, but if you know that we're going to be talking about cell phones, which we do like all this time at these meetings, I think it's on the next agenda, like you can sign up to come. We would love to like hear your voices. Like we recognize that the job that we can do is only as good as like the information that we have and we know. And kind of like we also as a board, like only hear from who we hear from. And we even recognize that like sometimes like when we get into debates on the board, because like one person is hearing from one community and one person is some other, and it's really challenging. So the more opportunities that the whole board together can hear from diverse voices from the community, the more beneficial it is for us to be able to do our jobs and to support the district and everything else. So yes, thank you very much.
Some of these topics are like, it doesn't just affect the students that go to these schools, it affects them, their family members and so on and so forth. So as village, we have the resource to be able to hear from those outside.
Yeah, I'll say, just like we were like, we don't have any idea like what the SSAC does. And there's lots of people on the board that like don't know nearly as much about the village. It's like, in fact, we have a HR committee meeting in a few minutes where we have someone from the village coming to like talk to us about a historical perspective of the hiring processes and other things, because like there were questions from board members of like, what is village's role even in that work? Because there's so many breakdowns in communication and opportunity to like connect. So yes, very much. Let's continue to talk about it and maybe brainstorm about how we formalize, we might want to consider that versus leaving it to you all to kind of work in collaboration. So anyway, I just wasted a lot of this time, but I just said that we had this. Anybody else? Julian, if you
I got my notes, sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't write everything down. I guess like going all the way back to like
Yeah.
hour ago or so, just I guess mine two asks coming out of this would just be making sure the policy is truly clarified so we know how the fragmentation is going to work. If this policy is still around 50 years from now, which we know is a distinct possibility, that student voice is always secured on the board, no matter what. And B, hearing this conversation, I really sets the belief in me that there is such a diverse perspective. Like I know sitting as a board rep, I cannot display all the viewpoints. I know that my three reps from LACS, we cannot do that. The community is too diverse, as Ithaca is too diverse, LACS is too diverse. So the idea of shrinking that further into the one kind of established voice at a voting meeting, and I know that's not the singular point where voices can be heard, but it is by far probably the most public. That feels like it's shrinking that ability. And I know that logistically this is incredibly difficult. We have heard we can go for hours on any subject matter, just shout something out. But I guess as a child of LACS, where voice is so valued, my heart hurts when I hear something like that. I want voices to be heard. I guess that's the bottom line, man. As we've done tonight, and again, so this has been awesome. I know you're on SSCA. Like, here, let's hang out. Like, let's talk. Like, let's have lunch. Like, let's do something. Like, as you were saying,
Well, I made an announcement at a morning meeting.
I know you did, and I clapped for you. I make my Thursday, man. I'm supposed to. But yeah, let's go. Let's hang out. Like, let's these bodies.
So yes,
Yeah, let's do.
totally. I hear you. We will take that feedback. Yeah.
Just to, well, yeah, I think networking, I mean, amongst all of us is a really important thing, and I think our position, if I can speak for everybody here at the Village of Ithaca, is we do get a lot of the unaccounted for groups of people that are just not being represented just anywhere. And our mission, here is so you guys can make the decisions informed on the voices that you guys have not been hearing as well. So networking, I think, amongst us would be really important, and so we can continue productive sort of. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday.
315, that's very exciting. Okay, does anybody else have any last minute? So thank you again, just thank you so much, and this will not be the last conversation that we all have together. Julian, I hear you loud and clear. We will think about that. Bring an idea yourself if you can think of another avenue. You know, I do, like, if we went with the route of what the policy says right now, don't forget that, like, speaking it, like, there's also voices at every single one of these committee meetings. So it's not just the board meeting. And in fact, as you've seen, even we as board members like struggle to really be able to say too much during those board meetings. And these are the times we can really get into debate and dialogue. So I just don't want to minimize that opportunity to do that there. But I do totally hear you. And it's going to be a challenging balancing act, but this is just the start. So feel free, you all, Well, we will send the current draft to everybody here. And if you want to weigh in on like, once you actually see the language of like, this doesn't make any sense, or like this totally negates what you just said up here, whatever, like we welcome any of that feedback and make sure that the rest of the board reps, if we would like to make some significant progress on this policy before we get to the next policy committee meeting, so we will do a lot of that work before then. So if there is feedback, we would love to get it sooner rather than later before we dive back into it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Dude,